Welcome to this week's edition of Rocky's 2-Minute Warning, brought to you by our friends at Bud and Bud Light. It's getting interesting in the NFL. The Cowboys can't seem to get it done. Who knows what Green Bay's doing? Seattle looks good, Arizona looks good, and Atlanta's still undefeated. Can you make any heads or tails of this, Jeremy?
No, last week was certainly a crazy week again. Things looked like everything seemed to be back on track, and then there were a bunch of upsets again last week. If the season ended right now, San Francisco wouldn't be in the playoffs.
Is Peyton Manning the greatest comeback quarterback of all time?
I think he's one of them. Certainly had a great game. I think as the season plays out, we'll get to see a little bit more of how it unfolds.
Well, it certainly is working out well for Denver. So, this week's picks, who have you got?
I'm going to take three great teams that lost last week. They're all back at home this week, and I find any time a good team loses on the road, the next week they seem to be a different team at home. So I'm going to take San Francisco over Seattle. San Francisco coming off that beatdown of the Giants. They're not going to lose two in a row all year at home. Seattle looked great at home. They're a different team on the road. Rookie quarterback, San Francisco defense.
Are you mad, bro?
Isn't going to happen. It's funny you didn't take San Francisco. You quit on San Francisco all of a sudden?
Nope.
No? I'm going to take Houston. Same reasoning. Lost to Green Bay last week. Baltimore's in town. Lewis is out. Their secondary's banged up. Flacco's due for one of those horrendous games that he has every now and then. It's going to be Houston's defense that causes that. Same thing. Going to take Minnie on the road. Lost with Washington last week. They have Arizona. Arizona's starting to come back down to earth. They don't look like the team they did at the start of the season. Look for their third straight loss.
Minnesota. They been a very surprising team this year for sure. Tennessee, Buffalo. So you got the Titans at 2-4, Buffalo at 3-3. They certainly aren't the team that we saw last year when Buffalo started off with that great start. But Hasselbeck is filling in at quarterback again, and I just think that C.J. Spiller and the Bills will ride to victory in that one. Then I'm going to take Indianapolis over Cleveland. Cleveland, you looked great last week in your first divisional game up against Cincinnati. Whedon is proving to be a good choice for quarterback. But I think the Cleveland winning streak is going to end at 1. Andrew Luck and his team just have too much for Cleveland to be able to take on. Then with New Orleans at Tampa Bay, I'm going to hope that New Orleans can actually stay on their winning groove. 1-4, nobody expects that. Least of all, their great quarterback Drew Brees is very disappointed in the way they performed so far. But they've certainly got everything on the roster that makes it look like they're a team that can pull off 5 or 6 victories in a row. And Tampa Bay, I just don't see it.
I noticed you took 3 games that no one's going to watch. Are you assuming, so you think people aren't going to pay attention to the fact that you maybe get these wrong?
I will actually be watching Indianapolis and take on Cleveland. I do love my Browns, as terrible as they are. So our game of the week this week is Pittsburgh-Cincinnati, and you've got Pittsburgh.
I do. Coming off against the loss last week against Tennessee, I look at Cincinnati. Who have they played this year? Who have they beat this year? They haven't beat anybody. The only decent team they played were the Ravens, who they lost to in the first game of the year. They've lost to the Dolphins the last couple of weeks. They've lost to the Browns the last couple of weeks. No one loses to the Browns. So they've got nothing going on. Steelers lost last week, a close one in Tennessee. I just think eventually, I think Pittsburgh's going to get it together, and this is probably going to be the game that starts it.
Well, Pittsburgh certainly hasn't lived up to their reputation. I think they're just getting old, and nobody shows it more than Polamalu. Cincinnati absolutely looked horrendous against Cleveland last week, but I have to believe that Ben Jarvis Green Ellis is the guy that can actually deliver for them. Since he's at home, it is the first divisional matchup for Pittsburgh this year, and we'll see where they go. But I think that Ben Roethlisberger is actually suffering from a bit of Tiger Woods syndrome. He's tried to become a good boy, and it ain't playing out for him. Now, last week's game of the week was the New York Giants 49ers, and Jeremy had the Giants, and they came up big. So everybody who voted with you.
How many people did?
Well, obviously, very few. There was a lot of people voted, but most people voted San Francisco.
When are people going to learn? Ryan Boudreau.
Ryan Boudreau, you get the Rockies gift card for $25. Just drop into the bar and pick that up. So this week, actually tomorrow, we've got the repatriation of the lighthouse, which is going back to Nova Scotia in exchange for a few scallops. If you want to take part in that, please be on the boardwalk tomorrow afternoon. That's it for this week's edition of Rocky's 2-Minute Warning.